Good morning to all of you. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to tell you and to share with you what has been going on here in Israel since the 7th of October, since that Black Sabbath, and also to share with you what we, as the Israel police, who's leading the national investigation regarding these atrocities that took place, have been doing since the 7th of October, and what we see very clearly through the investigation up until now. As I was introduced, I'm Mirit I'm an advocate. I am a former prosecutor dealing with many cases of criminal law for over 15 years. And so the knowledge of collecting evidence and translating them into indictments is very close to me. And I'll tell you that this investigation that we're leading here is nothing like we have ever seen, nothing like we've ever dealt with, and especially regarding the sexual violence, which was used, and I'm stating here, which was used as the war weapon in this terrible terror attack, which met us here on the 7th of October. I'll go back a little bit to that Black Saturday, and I'll tell you that the Israel police was, I think, the first to actually understand what is going on here, because in that morning, all of us here in Israel, it was a Saturday, it was a Simchat Torah, a holiday, very happy holiday. All of the sudden there was a missile attack, but not something that we're used to, because we are used to missile attacks here in Israel. But this was something else. It was something very long, and the missiles just didn't stop coming, not only to the southern area of Israel, but also to the area of Tel Aviv, which is in the central part of Israel. I'm sure most of you have known and hopefully been here. Also to Jerusalem. It was a massive attack. And the Israel police officers who serve in that area quickly understood that something different was happening that morning, and that actions must be taken very quickly. And therefore, all the ones who were on job that morning, but also the ones who were not working, but who lived in that area, just took whatever artillery they had with them and came out of their houses and literally fought with these thousands of terrorists who just came into Israel simultaneously into 20 different sites and attacked us, like, as I said, simultaneously in that party that took place, in that music festival that took place, in which thousands of youngsters were having a great 48 hours of music. And also, so they came there, they came to the kibbutzim, they came to different cities down south, very quiet cities. And this whole area was very quickly a war zone, literally a war zone. Therefore, the Israeli police of the southern area, the chief of the police of the southern area, southern district, quickly called and declared that we're in a war, and the actions were taken accordingly. We lost 58 of our friends that morning who fought and who rescued many civilians, and also managed to stop the terrorists from continuing up to northern areas in Israel. That was their plan. And we know that according to the investigation and according to the evidence that we see. I would like to just elaborate a little bit about what we did that day, as we understood that there were thousands of people that are missing, or that their families had no idea what is going on with them. We opened up a family center to where families could go and give testimonies regarding their loved ones that are missing. And also, we opened up an identification center in order for the bodies, which we first thought there were about 100, 200, 500, and eventually we know now that over 1,200 people were murdered in this massacre. So I'm jumping into the investigation itself, and I can tell you that what we see is that there are clear evidence that this was that the crimes that were taken against us that were held against us were crimes against humanity. And according to the international law, in order for me to declare something like this, I need to know that there was a plan, that there was a continuous action simultaneously in different places, and these are the facts. We saw and we see, according to the evidence from what we found on the terrorist bodies in the different places, in their bags, through their videos, etc., they were coming in with clear directions to murder as many, to burn as many houses and people, to be as brutal as possible, to kidnap as many, and to rape as many, and especially to humiliate. So, how do we know that it was not maybe just, 10, 20 crazy terrorists who decided to rape and then murder? We know that because, as I said, we saw the different scenes, the different 20 scenes. Not only us, the police officers saw, but also survivors, first responders, eyewitnesses, and other witnesses who saw naked bodies, who saw men and women whose genitals were cut, whose genitals were shot. We saw women with their lower part of their clothes ripped. The area of the underwear, if there was underwear left, was bleeding. We saw the bodies in the identification center that I told you about, bodies that came in cut. Some of the bodies were without breasts. Their breasts were cut. Some of the men, their genitals were cut. We have eyewitnesses who tell us what they saw. For example, one eyewitness at the party, at the festival, who told us that she was pretending to be dead. She was hiding under a tree, pretending to be dead, and she saw with her own eyes terrorists taking a woman, a young woman, naked woman. One of them raped her and then threw her to another one. The other one cut her breast off, one of her breasts off. Then he raped her, and while he was raping her, he shot her in the head and murdered her. Only then he left her, while she's dead, obviously. And actually, most of the victims, the rape victims, are not with us. They were murdered. They cannot tell us, their voice cannot be heard. And unfortunately, many of the survivors find it very, very difficult to come and talk. And so slowly we do see them coming. We're waiting for them. We're giving them the help and the circumstances that will enable them to come and tell us what they saw with their own eyes. We have special investigators dealing with the sexual atrocities. And when I say sexual atrocities, it's not only rape, as I said. And this must be clear. Because also, what we hear from hostages who came back, sexual atrocities and sexual violence is still going on these days to the poor hostages that are still there. Humiliation is a factor well known in this type of war. We saw it in different countries. We saw it in the different countries in Europe, in Africa, and now we see it here. I must tell you, I want to give you just a little glimpse from the evidence that I brought with me. I cannot show you the videos or the investigations themselves, but I can read you some quotes. First of all, one of the terrorists, which by the way, they're all investigated and none of them say any word of regret. You know, as a criminal prosecutor, I've read and saw a lot of criminals in different types of criminal activities. And some of them even were indicted for sexual atrocities. But many of them find their way to either regret or be embarrassed or ashamed of what they did. Here, we do not see that. What we see are terrorists that are telling us that they were trained for this. They were trained, each and every one had their job in this huge attack. It was a very planned one. It was a methodical one, a methodical attack with clear instructions. And I can quote one of the terrorists who told us that they were sent to dirty them. When we asked him, what do you mean dirty them? Then he said rape, not regretting, but he said it. A police officer who was one of the first responders testified, I couldn't drive because there was a baby cradle full of blood on the road. a baby that was outside his cradle, and the naked woman lying next to the baby body. She was naked, badly injured. Bullets were in her body. Can you imagine that? A rescuer that arrived to a house on a kibbutz testified. Inside the shower, there was a body of a cuffed woman. She was without any underwear. The body was in the corner and her hands were tied. Another testimony from the party, from the music festival, a survivor tells us, women without clothes, some without the upper body clothes, some without the lower body clothes, blood over their lower body, butchered people. We found a woman's body dumped outside without pants, without underpants, burnt, barely any hair left on her. This is just a glimpse. But, we collected thousands of testimonies already, and we're still not done. We watched over 200,000 videos of the terrorists. You saw some of them while they were filming themselves and putting up their films to the net. They were so proud of what they're doing. We watched over 200,000 visuals. We speak to families. We speak to survivors. And we actually understand that this was just like another Holocaust. I would like to just, before I end and before you can ask questions, maybe you're asking yourselves, how come it took time to the world to talk about the sexual atrocities? Why did we have to go to the UN and to speak up there in order to convince the world that this actually happened? Why did women organizations shut their mouths? Some of them still haven't spoken. Why do I, myself, and others have to go and talk to parliaments? I spoke in the German, in the French, in the British parliaments to tell the world what happened. Why do we have to prove that? Why weren't we believed? So we believe that even the world could not understand and bear the fact that such atrocities could actually happen. This is what we think, and unfortunately, it's not working for the world, because the UN representative Pramila Patten, who came here to Israel, said and wrote that according to what she saw and what she was exposed to and what she and the material that she saw, the evidence that we showed her, there were definitely sexual atrocities and sexual violence taken during this war as a war tool. And not only her, also many others believe, and they do. And I must tell you that we see a lot of support from the different countries. And we're asking you to help us with your support, but not only by listening to us, by going and spreading it more and more and more. Because if it happened to us here in Israel, it can happen anywhere. Think about the 134 hostages that are still held by the Hamas ISIS, and do everything that you can in order to help us bring them back all as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Mirit, thank you so much for your words and for being here today. I think it's such an imperative conversation that we have with so many people on the call. What actions can the Jewish communities around the world take? Do you have any specific actions to give people that we can take?
Yes, I think that we have to all be united and to tell any group, even a small group, a big group, to tell the press, to tell the government, to tell even influencers what you heard right now, because what I'm talking about is not something that we're imagining. It happened. We saw it with our bare eyes. I still can smell the smell of death in the identification center, where so many bodies came in trucks, butchered, in a situation that it was so difficult to identify some of the people. And if we think of what these people, and especially these women, went through in the last minutes of their life, it's something that humanity cannot bear. And therefore, to talk about it, to speak about it, to tell more and more and more, and to influence in order not only, firstly, of course, to bring back the hostages as SOS quickly as possible. But not only that, we have to make sure that something like this will not possibly happen anywhere in the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.